Soon they reached the battered gates of an old scrap merchant's yard. A faded sign read, "I am Foreman." A smaller, freshly painted sign warned, "Private, keep out." The doctor and Susan slipped inside. Standing incongruously in one corner of the yard was the police box shape of the doctor's TARDIS. As he fumbled in his pockets for the key, Susan peered out through a knothole in the gate. The stranger had almost reached the yard now, and she was able to take a closer look at him. He appeared to be in his early 50s, dressed smartly in a long, military-style coat. His face was pale and lined, his closely cropped hair grey, and he sported a carefully trimmed moustache. He paused thoughtfully before the scrapyard, and for one moment Susan thought he was going to try the gates. Then he shook his head and walked off down the road, his footsteps fading into the distance. The doctor called for Susan to come into the ship. She replied with a worried look on her face. "Grandfather, I recognise that man. It's Mr. Rook, one of the teachers at Coal Hill School. But I don't understand what's he doing out at this time of night, and why has he come to Totter's Lane?" The Friday 4 o'clock bell rang, marking the end of another week at Coal Hill. Teenagers streamed out of classrooms, making for the school bus to take them home. Others huddled in tiny groups, discussing their plans for the coming weekend.
Hey, Mavis, Brian, Richard, look sharp. We're all going to Rosen.
"Oh, yeah, all right, posh boy. Give us a minute. We're not in your blooming army, you know." Susan stood awkwardly alone, unsure whether to join one of the chattering groups or not. Finally, she sighed and made for the main exit. Reaching into her satchel, she took out her transistor radio and switched it on. The tinny beats of the latest pop sensation filled the air. Susan was so absorbed in the music, she didn't see Mr. Rook until it was too late. Oh! He crashed into the schoolmaster, who was carrying a pile of marking which fell to the floor. "Oh, Mr. Rook, I'm so sorry. I wasn't looking where I was going. Here, let me help you pick them up." Rook nodded his thanks and then glanced pointedly at Susan's radio. Hurriedly, she switched it off. "Sorry. I'd better go now. I have homework to do." Susan looked up at the tall man. He was observing her curiously, as a visitor might a particularly interesting specimen in a zoo. His eyes were piercing blue, and she shuddered. Rook smiled. It was not an entirely convincing smile. "How long have you been a pupil at Coal Hill School, Miss Foreman?" he asked. "She'd arrived at the start of the autumn term," she replied. Rook nodded. "The curious thing is, Miss Foreman, I was chatting to the school secretary the other day. She says she has no recollection of ever having seen any documentation concerning your good self. No birth certificate, nothing to prove who you really are." Susan shifted uncomfortably and tried to avoid Rook's accusing look. "Well, Grandfather and I have been travelling, Mr. Rook. Our documents were sent to us, but they must have been lost. I'm sure they'll turn up eventually. It's not like they're very important, is it?" Rook smiled. If anything, this second smile was even less convincing than his first. "Possibly not, Miss Foreman," he agreed. "You must forgive my curiosity. This is my first term here as well. It was unfortunate my predecessor had to leave so unexpectedly. And you are quite a mystery, aren't you? Almost unearthly, in fact." Susan lowered her eyes. "I really wouldn't know about that, Mr. Rook. May I go now? Like I say, I've homework to do, and Grandfather doesn't like my being late." Rook took out an elaborate fob watch from his waistcoat and consulted it.